Well, hello, Facebook Live. This is Mike George coming at you. Oh, I think we're on now. Hello, friends. Hello, Facebook Live. Welcome to a riveting episode of Open Mic Live with yours truly, Mike George. Um, what is today now? We're just finishing the workday here on Tuesday, the 14th of October, 2025. It is around 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Um, I'm here in the Columbus Metropolitan Library in downtown Columbus. Ah, this lovely little pseudo office to myself. I've always fashioned myself a corner office bitch, so here I am, and the closest thing I could fashion to one is the third floor of the Columbus Metropolitan Library with this beautiful view of the skyline behind me. I figured I don't sing the praises of this library enough on here, so figured we'll do a little walkthrough a little magical walkthrough of the library as I exit in order to proceed with my day, get something to eat, perhaps. An interesting topic that sort of came up in last, I guess, in my last topical discussion on here on Open Mic Live is we talked a lot about intelligence, and we tried to kind of frame it as far as how we define artificial intelligence, AI, and how we talk about it going forward as it's becoming a more and more important thing in our technological lives and in our real life too, for that matter. But you know, I think sometimes the best way to understand something is to kind of explore the opposite of it. So in kind of exploring the opposite of intelligence, I kind of started taking a more academic look at ignorance. What is ignorance and why is it such a bad thing? So yeah, we I kind of opened the topic of ignorance and kind of talk and I kind of into that as this sort of stigma we have of it, um, and how we kind of have discourse. We sort of regard people that are ignorant as second class citizens, I guess, in sort of this national discourse. But when we do that, we obviously like immediately we sort of villainify the guy, our audience, which is never a good thing to do in a persuasive argument, particularly one involving politics. And so we get caught, I think when we sort of immediately lambast the poor person because they didn't know something, we kind of unwittingly and creates an unnecessary foe when we try to gather allies and try to come to some common framework of what the fuck is going on in our country. You know, politics, a thing that we've done so bad at lately that it's almost always impolite to talk about at dinner anymore. So here I am at the library, one of the more polite places to talk about politics. Hello. Oh, I think this is not worth to try to do a live stream in the elevator because I already know we're gonna lose reception in that elevator. So let's proceed down the stairs. The things I do for you, viewer. Uh-oh, you don't want to meet me. I'm trouble. Eh, Well, you can meet me outside if you want. Ask your mom though. Make sure your mom's okay. All right. Go down the library stairs. I probably can't turn this damn camera around at all. So let's try our best to show off the atrium of the Columbus Metropolitan Library. I can never quite gauge how loud I talk on this damn thing, and since I'm Asian, I automatically talk loud when I'm on the phone by stereotypical default. So I'm gonna watch that, but this library's got all kinds of other noise besides me. It'll be all right. But yes, yes, ignorance. I hear the word ignorance discussed a lot with regards to how we talk about Trump people, and you know, it's sort of the negative connotation that comes with how we talk about ignorance kind of works against us when it comes to trying to enlighten people, for instance, and trying to do so in a way that doesn't piss them off and, create more social division and so forth, And of course, I think some of the things I touched on before were kind of the basic axioms of respect and, oh gosh, I mean, respect and assuming positive intention when when you're in those little political discussions, or really any top sort of discussion in general. But yeah. And so I think this is a place where I can fucking sit down. Bear with me. We'll call this a technical moment. It'd be amazing if the Wi-Fi remains continuous. Let's see. Let's see how we've done in 2025, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Ta-da! Ah, gosh, damn, it's a perfect, like, 20-degree day outside once again in Columbus, Ohio, on the Kaufman Plaza of, well, just behind the Columbus Metropolitan Library now. Ah, I gotta set some shit down here. Doing that thing where I try to do a Facebook Live while I'm carrying everything and somehow juggling things without yet fucking everything up. But there's a whole episode for fuck ups to occur, isn't there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Ah, beautiful day here. Anyways, let's see if we have any comments here. Oh, am I having connection issues? Oh dear. What else is new? No comments. You guys are so shy. Come on, there's no wrong answer here, especially when we're talking about ignorance. In fact, that's the very prompt that should uh that should squeeze some questions out of y'all. And since I came on at the magical 5 p.m. time of all the God-fearing professionals leaving work, I know I'm gonna get somebody on Facebook here that just accidentally peeks their head in here, just to check up on me, just to seethe in jealousy as to how I've been able to, in theory, just do nothing but smoke weed all day and just waste this beautiful Tuesday and let it wither and die along with my joints. But nope, 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 nope. I'm not so predictable anymore, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So that's you lack imagination if that was your assumption. Anyways, ignorance. So yeah, I mean, oh shit. I'm just kind of. I guess I'll just refer you guys to the last video that I did about artificial intelligence. It's kind of towards the tail end of part two, where where I kind of talk about ways to engage with people to try to do our little part to chip away at the fog to ignorance that might befall them, as well as us. Obviously we can't always. We have part of our job in maintain the sort of values that I sort of espoused about civil engagement. A lot of that involves knowing, or at least being open to the idea that you might be wrong, and being open to being convinced a little bit of maybe somebody else's points, if if sound logic and rationale hold up, and that's part of our job. That's part of the whole name of the game when it comes to figuring shit out these days in the modern information age that we find ourselves in. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my fellow citizens of America. Um, so there's that. But uh, I don't know what else could be said about it. I mean, I guess my big takeaway about what is ignorance is that it does have to be distinguished from what I've coined for myself a willful disregard, and that's different. That's when I use the term douchebag to describe certain people and the lack of just the thing, the concept that kind of goes along with the lack of consideration for others, but almost like a hostile disregard of others. It's like you've considered the others around you, and you're saying fuck you anyways. Basically, that's different than just plain old ignorance of not knowing and making a mistake. And I think we would do well for ourselves to distinguish the difference when we when we talk to each other, when we make ourselves vulnerable to being convinced wrong, perhaps, and having allowing ourselves that little bit of humility to enlighten us that much more in what is becoming a really confusing time of information and loads of misinformation. So I'll keep this short and sweet, baby. Uh, thank you some of you guys for the support over the last few days. You know who you are. Um, if you don't know who you are, then maybe consider dropping a dollar on the attached link below if you like what you see, and if you want maybe to if you want Mama to have enough money to hire a twink production assistant to make this even better, perhaps in the future. Until then, Facebook Lives. This has been Mike. This is Open Mic Live on this Tuesday afternoon. Yeah, as we head home from work. Now here's a safety note. Be aware of the changing hours of daylight, whether you're driving, bicycling, or walking, and consider that when in your risk analysis of how many other terrible drivers are going to be on the road, many of which are promise you almost are not going to have their headlights on. In the meantime, Facebook land, take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else and put on your goddamn headlights, please.